Alrighty, hello everybody and good morning. So, there was a request that came in earlier to make a guide to show off all the cool tricks and stuff that you can do in Night of Lotus, basically by the time you get to Formido. So, by the time you get to your first boss, as would be standard for these things. So, just how busted can you get, and bear in mind, we won't really be doing any grinding or whatever else. I personally absolutely hate grinding. The entire purpose of this whole thing is just a bunch of little tricks that you can do to become completely busted without any grind. So, without any further ado, let's get this train wreck rolling. Alright, so the first order of business, in order to make a strong build, you need a strong name. So this is going to be Stakey 9000. So this right here, the birthday, it doesn't seem like much, but this is, in theory, one of the ways that you can optimize your run very significantly. See, the luck system in this game runs off this kind of whole biorhythm thing, as it often does through the rest of the series, but it gets especially complicated for this one for whatever dang reason. Now, the thing is, even with somebody having written something like a 30-page thesis on the dang thing and its inner functions, we don't quite know how it works. Well, that is to say, we know how many of the functions work, but when it comes to how you actually manipulate it, until you know the exact part of the biorhythm that you're on, you can't really cheese it. So in this particular case, in theory, setting your birthday to a particular day may have a factor. The problem is you seem to still start on a random part of your biorhythm anyway. So theoretically, there is an exploit here, just so you know. It's unknown how exactly you do that exploit right now. Anyway, moving on. So the first one that everyone's very well aware of, the questions at the very start. So this is actually a combination of different systems. It'll ask you 3 times what your alignment is, what your element is. It'll ask you 1 time what your emblem will be, and then with the questions that you've answered, it will essentially tally up a score, and it will give you one of 4 starting packages. So, of those 4 packages, -4 to -6 is pretty much the optimal start if you want a caster. So that is -4 to -6. That starts you with 10 cure leaves, 6 magic leaves, 6 altars, plus 10 MP, plus 10 intelligence, and plus 4 agility. So if you want to have a caster, go for that one. -3 to 0. Main special thing about that one is it starts you off with a rapier, so you have a cleric and a ninja. You'll always have Alos and Floros, your 2 starting soldiers, so I'm not going to mention them going forward. But yeah, so this one starts you off with a rapier, 10 cure leaves, 10 magic leaves, 3 altars, and then the sort of jack-of-all-trades stats for these middle 2 packages, which is plus 4 health, plus 6 MP, plus 4 strength, plus 4 intelligence, and plus 6 agility. So next package has those same stat bonuses. This is the 1 to 3 point category. This starts you off with a wizard and an archer. I would personally say this is the weakest one to start off with, because you don't get any starting weapon like 2 of them. You don't get any massive stat gains like 2 of them. But, oh yeah, and you also don't have a ninja at the start. That'll become relevant later. But that all said, you have your wizard, your archer, you have your standard gains, but you start off with 10 more cure leaves than the other one, so there's that. 2 less magic leaves, though. Alright, and then 4 to 6, this is the one that we're going to be optimizing for today. Bear in mind, again, this is just this category. It doesn't mean it's always going to be the best one. It is not always, it's not always going to be the most optimal, what have you. But there's a number of reasons that I'm starting off with this one today. So this is the one that I liked doing the solo speedrun attempt on. So this starts you off with a ninja and an archer. The ninja's important there. A longsword, not as important as you might think, but it is nice to have. 20 cure leaves, 2 cure seeds, that's an important one. 3 altars, we're never going to use those, but that is some free money. HP plus 10, strength plus 10, so that's going to be the main busted one. And 4 agility. So you start off with some agility no matter what you do. Alright, so that all being said, you pick which category you want to go for. If you ever want an easy breakdown of what all of these are, just go to tacticsogre.com. The guy's had the website up for like 20 years now. It's pretty fantastic. Anyway, so as far as these first questions, resolve is 0 points and fire. Truth is -1 and wind. Affection is -1 and water. Sacrifice is +1 and earth. So we want 1 point right here. I'm going to lean towards earth. I'll explain another thing in just a moment, but there will be multiple questions that ask your alignment and your element. So, the second one is going to be another one of the most important ones, because these are 4 emblems that are fairly uncommon, and you get a choice to start with one of them. Belief is -1 neutral and the miracle emblem. Freedom over here is 0 points, neutral, and arbitration. So basically arbitration is the one that lets you recruit with a much higher percentage chance. Basically the equivalent of about a mid-rank of Recruit and Anatomy in the PSP remake. So this one is, if you like recruiting characters, this one's going to become your main one to go to, because this is the second most annoying one to actually get a hold of, because you have to roll about a 4 to 14% chance. Believe it or not, the speedrun of this game actually revolves around getting this emblem. Not on this character, but anyway, we'll get to that. Longevity gives you 1 point, Chaos, and gives you Fist Fight, which basically turns your fist into the equivalent of a claymore. It was supposed to be like an archer counterpunch kind of thing, but they wanted it to be good all game, so yes, it just turns into a claymore more or less. So Wealth is 0 points, Law, and fittingly Embodiment of Desires. So basically this is the greed one. So Embodiment of Desires we're actually going to get on accident over the course of this particular thing. Fist Fight we're going to get almost immediately. Arbitration we're going to get eventually, which leaves Miracle, which improves your odds of dodging things and just generally getting better rolls. Not to mention this one is actually incredibly risky to ever get a hold of. You'll probably get it by accident in a really bad scenario. If everything's going well, you'll never have a chance to get it, because in order to get the Miracle Emblem, you have to be at less than 10% health and then dodge a hit that would have killed you. Alright, so, Design Witch Plan. Strife is +1 wind, Wisdom is +1 water, Prosperity is +0 earth, and Hatred is -1 fire. So for the rest of these points, because we're at 0 at this point, we want to get 4 points, we're going to go ahead and go for any +1s that we can get. Now, I'm going to go for Wisdom, because this then gives us a 2 out of 3 chance to potentially get either water or earth. As to why I want one of those, we'll explain later. If we get fire, no big deal. But it asks you 3 times for your alignment and for your element. If you answer something 2 times, it will guarantee that thing. If you if you answer all of them individually, it will essentially just roll one of the 3. Alright, so, for Witch Oath, we have Purity, that's -1 Law, Revenge is +1 Chaos, Victory is +1 Neutral, Fruition is +0 Chaotic. So we're going to go for Victory, for Neutral. This means that that we have now picked Neutral twice, because we picked Belief for -1 Neutral earlier. We picked Victory for +1 Neutral now, meaning that regardless of picking Terror in the next question, we will be on Neutral. The reason why is just class availability, especially if you're doing a solo. The amount of classes that you want to have available to you is ideally going to be maximum. You will have ways to change your alignment and your element later, but this is just what we want to start off with for the most options. So, Sadness is +0 Neutral, Mercy is -1 Law, Terror is +1 Law, and Bliss is -1 Chaotic. So, we're going to go for Terror to get those points. And then for the last bit here, the Almighty asks Sheep which future. So Glory is +1 Fire, Peace is +0 Water, Control is -1 Earth, and Change is +0 Wind. So we're going to want Glory here, and that will be our build complete. So now we'll let the intro play out, and we'll see how we did. Because at that point, we can start optimizing further. See you in a sec. Yeah, this scene threw me off when I was a kid, because I was playing this immediately after playing Golden Sun, and I forget if it was like the first Golden Sun or Last Stage or whatever it was, but they had a similar thing where in several scenes they kind of remove letterboxes when you're about to move, and yeah, immediately after that, I'm looking at this like, hey, why aren't my controls working? Why can't I move yet? So then he starts looking around, and it's like, okay, you know, I guess we can't quite move yet. I wonder if this uses some site-based control system, but yeah, no. Apparently I was expecting Shining Force before ever playing Shining Force. Okay, so, believe it or not, the actual optimizations already start here. Another thing, I don't know what it is about this UI, but I just love the design of this thing every single time. Just something about it just screams awesomeness, and again, I really don't know whether it's just the details and the sprite work or what, but just something about the design of it is super satisfying. Now, there's two ways the Richter can go at the start here. He either can go right here. By the way, you may notice there's going to be a little bit of janky sound every now and then. This is just on account of emulating off of Vita. While streaming off of Vita, it was not really meant to do this thing, but Steam will not let me have my controller for whatever bizarre reason. It just keeps trying to edit my controls, so screw it, we're doing it this way. Anyway, so what you want to do is Shield Bash Richter. Now, it's around 80%, but this gives you 16 or so experience every time you do it. The benefit of this whole thing is that, well, it'll become relevant in the next fight. Let's just put it that way. So, for now, you have 3 turns to do something, and you want to try to make as efficient use of your experience gains as possible here to be able to pull off a trick in just a little bit. Is it absolutely necessary? No, but potentially it's really awesome if you can get all of it to line up. So what we want to do is either take 3 shield bashes on Richter, or take 2 shield bashes and kill off one of our own dudes. Now, they're basically all going to be fighting each other in the front line here. You'll have the opportunity to take out somebody at low health. More often than not, that'll actually end up being Laura over there, or Justin. Which, funny note, Laura and Justin are the exact same units that Richter keeps at his side throughout the rest of the game. So, yeah, they do go through the same promotion path you're likely to put them through, and they do actually have unique dialogue if they're killed in any of their encounters. So that's just kind of fun. Anyway, alright, so we have the opportunity to do something a little risky here. I'm going to go ahead and shield bash him this way. There is an opportunity, if you're not feeling particularly lucky that day, you can always just shield bash him from the back for a 99% chance to hit. But you can actually just go for the side here, take the 80%, and hopefully somebody will potentially leave themselves exposed here. So, in many cases, you might run into a situation where there will, like I mentioned earlier, just be a unit to finish off. There's no way to tell who's going to be where. It's completely random. Everyone's just fighting each other as they will. So, strange things will happen sometimes. Okay, so unfortunately it didn't quite line up. This guy didn't have low enough health to be finished off here. That's okay, we can still take a third shield bash on Richter, and thankfully, because he's a friendly unit, we can go ahead and hit him from the back here. Now, the reason you want to go for a shield bash, ideally, is if you do hit, then he doesn't counterattack. If you have fairly low strength, like if you went for any of the bottom 3 starting packages, basically there is a chance that he can two-shot you. So if you're not paying attention, yeah, you can just die in the intro. It is very possible. He has a kind of mid-game weapon on him, so it's not exactly like he's weak or anything. As you may have noticed, he can hit 70 pluses with some of his moves. He is several levels higher than everybody else, and this is as low as defense ever gets. Alright, we actually might be seeing something fairly rare here, and that's getting a 4th turn. This is going to come down to a few different factors. They seem to be trying to finish off units as much as they can. Usually within 3 turns you have this thing completely wrapped up. Usually Richter's taken 2 shots on Stan over there, which has rendered him a bit dead. Ooh, and actually with that hit we might be able to get a kill after all. Moves to go, and sure enough, let's see if we roll this. Nice! And it's a crit. Nice, we even got a couple life from that guy. So I'm not even sure if it's worth bothering learning what all the different units here can potentially drop. But they will usually just drop stat items. The boss is guaranteed to drop a Francisca, which is why the longsword from the start isn't too big of a deal, because you basically can have the same type of damage bonus, just at the cost of some accuracy. And yeah, we're seeing something, again, fairly uncommon here, because this is actually going a 5th round. I can't even really go anywhere, and actually we can get a 2nd kill. Well, that sucks. So close. How? There we go. That's how you get Miracle, by the way. That was a guaranteed kill on him, and if he attacks us and we finish him off... Oh, please. Please, please, please. Okay, that right there, that's what we were trying to set up to do in the next fight. So you want to try to get a level early. Basically, you want to get about halfway to your next level in order to make sure that you level up in the next fight, which gives you far better odds of finishing off one of the two guys that attacks you at the very start, which gives you self-preservation, which improves the power of your counterattacks. For whatever reason, RNGesus has decided to strike like lightning here and not only give us the early setup, but also give us a free self-preservation emblem. Funnily enough, your AI companions cannot earn self-preservation. They can learn some other emblems, not that one. I'm not really sure why. In fact, I think it might be that any character that you see later in some capacity can't actually earn the emblems that they don't have later. I could be wrong in that, but honestly this would seem like the kind of game that would do exactly that. Alright, so over here we have optimized our odds of survival by washing up on a beach next to a church. So they've got nothing better to do. They're just going to go ahead and patch us up. Turns out they're pretty good at this whole healing thing for some reason. Now, as we're all very well aware, just being treated nicely and sitting in a warm bed is a fantastic way to get over drowning. Another little kind of mini side note here. I just appreciate the fact that you can actually see the beach outside the window. There was no reason for them to really do that. Actually, just a bit of an appreciation thing in general. So, both Tactics Ogre games love this room scene right here, where you basically just have a bunch of props with a window to the left, and you have the rest of the scene going on. But the attention to detail is kinda nuts here. Like, just the fact that, okay, you see how they have that chest on the table? That'll become relevant way down the line. Not because of the necklace thing you're thinking of, but because of the fact that they actually have an object that's about the size of whatever will fit in that chest that they give you. You can also see the beach outside, which again they didn't really need to do. They specifically have the layout of the room in a way that fits into the building, which is pretty nice. They have the stone foundation underneath the wood, basically just showing that they did build build the place properly to deal with the sand there. Anywho, actually they even have a little wash tub over there to the right, which yeah, another little detail nobody ever would notice, but sure enough, there it is. Now at the very start here, the most optimal thing you can realistically do is just save your game after a start like that. But deal is, you can't actually access your menu yet, otherwise it would be really nice to be able to pick up the longsword and use it here. Alright, so right now we already have self-preservation, we already have Miracle, we have maxed out strength for this point in the game, and we can go ahead and start going forward. Now, unlike before, we're not going to attack the level 3 here, instead we're going to go forward, we're going to try to fight these guys. We picked up a couple life, so we might as well use it. Man, could not have planned a setup like this better. But yeah, we'll actually be back to this map almost immediately, but for now, all we really need to do is to win it. Most of the time, all of the AIs will end up getting taken out before the end of it, so there's not really too much of a need to try to focus down anybody. If you just try to end it, fair enough. If you end up getting the kill here, that's probably the most optimal level jump that you can do. If you get a setup like this, though, you potentially can jump up 2 levels if you get the kill. Now, here's the thing. Level grinding in this game, not really too big of a deal. It's not really something that you realistically want to do, but early on you can get a pretty massive power spike just doing that. And the only reason that we want that immediate power spike, because I should probably mention damage is kind of rubber banded in this one. So if a class is not meant to do damage, it just simply will do less damage in relation to another thing. I don't know the exact formulas or anything, I'm not sure anyone does, but either way. So you can see, we're already dealing 40s with a frickin' short sword right off the bat. That's already starting to break the damage formula a little bit, because normally you're supposed to be doing like 16 there. So it's a combination of a lot of different factors, but still, we're doing pretty well. So we're going to get our level up pretty quick here. Then ideally we'll continue fighting on, maybe get half of our experience up and finish off the boss, which will then net us a second level, which means in the third fight we can optimize a little bit farther. Well, we'll get to that in just a second. Yeah, Orson over here making a pretty misguiding effort in convincing people that archers are good. Holy crap, I think she might have just stepped onto the tile to let this second optimization happen. So we're going to get fairly standard damage for trying to finish off any of these basic soldier guys. They're level 1s. We're really not getting anything extra for finishing them. But if Richter and Orson decide to attack this wizard lady over here, we should be able to finish her off and take that nice tasty experience for our own. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Although right here, Mr. Richter is making a fantastic case for showing how the elevation mechanics work in these games. Where he's basically... Okay, so technically the projectile, when they use missile attacks, starts, I think it's like 3 levels higher than where they are, and then goes at a slant. So you see wacky stuff like that happen. Alright, so there is a chance. We are the opposite element here, so we are going to get a damage bonus. Here's the funny thing. Tiles work a little funny sometimes, and actually from here we might be able to pull it off. So she's getting a loss on that tile. We're taking a gain on this tile, meaning that right here, if we... dang it. I was going to say, if we rolled high, we would be able to finish that off. But you can see, elemental tiles matter more in this game than they ever did in the whole rest of the series. Because they basically will give you up to 10 different damage, and with how rubber banded a lot of the damage is, that can be fairly significant. And that's actually part of the reason I was talking about later, that there's one particular tile that it's good to be water for. However, there's a lot of cities with a lot of earth tiles, like right there. So, you know, it is what it is. That was about as optimal as that damage could have been. We were just very slightly off from being able to do it. So more than likely it will be one of the other two that end up finishing off the boss, especially if she goes right there. So it'll probably be Orson that gets the job done here. Although you never know. He might just look at that 4 and decide that he wants to take some bigger numbers from somewhere else. I feel like the AI oftentimes acts a bit randomly, because they will sometimes pile on enemies, sometimes they'll just kind of spread their damage around. I don't really know what the consistency factor is on that. Holy crap, they actually are feeding us kills here. Alright, so we're getting a bonus off this tile. It's not really going to be too much for accuracy. I wonder... it'll be about the same with the shield. We might as well go for the sword. No chance for a low roll, and there we go. We end up getting the kill here. So that's that. That was pretty lucky, I gotta say. Yeah, 56 experience. That'll matter a whole lot in the next fight. Again, it doesn't seem like half a level's much. Just watch where this goes. So I might be misremembering on this part, but I just want to say I believe there was one moment where Lara got killed, and it was Justin guarding the stairs. I'm not 100% on that, but again, I could be misremembering it. But again, it seems like exactly the kind of thing that this game would do. And so now we get paid. Actually, a little detail they might have noticed in that last scene. I really appreciate the fact that they have all the windows closed except for the one for the lady watching the stairs. Technically, yes, she should be watching in multiple directions, but whatever. The only window that's open is the one next to their lookout. Cool thing there. Anyway, so at this point, we can do some optimization. So we go over to the shop, and you'll see, okay, you can hire some different demi-human type of characters. Fair enough. Well, there's one in particular that has a 50-50 chance of being available here on any given day, and that is not today. Alright, there we go. So this is the one that we want to hire. We're going to want them to be a level 1. We're going to want them to be a wind element. Name doesn't really matter, so I guess they're Cornelia now. There we go. Alright, so you want them to be the opposite element of whatever your main character is. Alright. So, next order of business, we go over to Skibellum, and we do a training fight. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and change Mr. Stakey over here to a Beast Tamer. They've got really good strength gains. Alright, so at this point, would recommend just going into the menu, turning off all of the effect names and whatever else, and changing all speed to fast. Alright, so what we want to do is take this fairy, or if you start off with a ninja, that works too. We put them over here. And in the shipping crate type area, somebody just has a dragon shield. Sure, why not? So, basically, same old dragon set that you've seen in other bits of the series. You basically get you get an anti-dragon effect from equipping multiple dragon items. So if you get the armor, the helmet, all that kind of thing, it is here. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and put them over here. And there's 3 emblems we can get out of this particular situation. You can get the one for one-shotting somebody, you can get the one for doing over 100 damage, and you can get the one for a fist kill. So, why not just basically do most of that stuff at the same time? So we set them up to fight each other. First we get the fist kill one, then we do over 100 for an insta-kill. Takes a little bit of a second to set up. Alright, now since we don't want to buy another fairy, what we're going to do is we're going to circle around the back and just repeatedly punch the fairy in the butt. Clearly it's a great way to train. I mean, they look like a giant floating punching bag. Alright, so at this point, we'll go ahead and finish them off here, but the fastest way to do this is just to go take the longsword from earlier, basically get your one-shot kill and your 100 damage right off the bat, and then go into the fist fight emblem. Oh, well, sweet. I guess the fairy found a hidden item there. Why not? So there's hidden items all over the dang place. That part's pretty obvious, but yeah, just so you know, when it comes to certain emblems, and especially getting some emblems in training, there's usually a limit of a couple of levels. Usually it's about 5. I believe sometimes it's lower. Okay, I figured out what I'm doing wrong. Basically, I did a bit of a dumb. Completely forgot that, yeah, it's supposed to be absolutely no equipment whatsoever in order to get fist fight. So, yeah, just ignore the previous thing. Just take off all their stuff. I mean, it's the faster way for them to do this anyway. Alright, so while these two are punching each other out, a few little corrections up to this point, actually. So, double-checking for the notes for, you know, tacticsogre.com here. So it turns out, yeah, for the Embodiment of Desires, technically speaking, there are several more tiles that could potentially be made use of here. Basically, it does the same thing that it does in Tactics Ogre Remake as well, where it's just the essentially the loot table is raised up by 1. Now, technically speaking, there's only one tile in the early game, and basically the first half of the game, where you can get an endgame item, or at least have a chance at an endgame item. In theory, this would up that to about 15 of them. Now, I'm not entirely sure how achievable this could be, but I think I'm going to start routing that to see what could potentially be accomplished. Because one of the ideal setups that I was mentioning a while ago would be the ability to pick up a composite crossbow at the very start of the game, along with fist fight, which would, in theory, allow you to run around just basically sniping everything and counter-attacking grunts out of your way, essentially gaining a ton of levels just off accidental kills through the game. Eventually, that would turn into a Snapdragon, and eventually that would just turn into soloing the entire thing. But either way, moving on. Actually, another minor correction here. So Miracle is 5%, not 10%. And additionally, when we do War God, I think I said 100 earlier. It's supposed to be 200. So additionally, in combination with what I was saying earlier about luck, looking at the list here, I kind of wonder if it's possible to potentially use use Broken Heart to cheese a bit of a thing too. So Broken Heart basically is for failing to persuade female enemies 10 times. So, weird thing on that. The way the biorhythm works, basically this says that your periods of biorhythm go down, and I wonder if this potentially could be cheesed to speed up a biorhythm to land in a particular area. Just in theory. Alright, there we go. Fist fight. I'll do a bit better. There we go. 91 with a single punch. Okay, so with the other setup out of the way, let's get this thing going. Now, I think it's a fairly safe assumption that Cressida here is actually the little girl from the intro, just based off the colors that she wears and the fact, well, her whole backstory there. So, you know, if we haven't laid on the depression thick enough, she's talking about how she's going to get vengeance. About that. So, alright, here's the deal. Earlier on, I was talking about theoretically doing this map with a bow or crossbow. So, with strength as high as it is, we would end up scaling a great bow or composite bow pretty darn well. Thing is, as it stands right now, we just have a short bow, so I've tested it a little bit just out of curiosity, and so it's theoretically doable to do this map, get all 3 emblems that you're looking for, and still walk away, still walk away from it victorious. The thing is, it takes a pretty long time to do with the short bow. So if you managed to roll a composite bow, by this point, then that's the way to do it. Well, actually, okay, so I'll show how to do the composite bow thing in a little bit, right after this fight, in fact. Actually, alright, whatever, we'll see. There's two different ways that you could actually do this, because the one way, you could do the Glycinia fight early, another way is to actually roll for that thing afterwards. So let's just go ahead and get this going. So what we want to do during this fight is to try to make sure that A, Ivana is healing at all times, and B, that you are getting all kills on the map, because this is essentially a setup to get two different emblems. So we're going to let them get close. I'm going to go basically hit Ivana real quick here. She might do a counterattack. Hopefully that'll end up missing. There we go. That'll do the job, and that'll actually give us our Book of Initiation, because of that the number of dodges or attacks or whatever else are actually tracked between maps, so it's kind of just a global thing that's attached and then reset if you end up failing the requirements. Kind of interesting how they did that. Now the goal here is, yeah, to get Ivana to back off and start healing. Then we're going to attack. We're going to take a bunch of damage. She'll come in, she'll go for the heal, and we want to keep that cycle going. If she starts running around and getting aggressive, she might take one of the kills, which would ruin the whole setup here. So what we're trying to do is get every single kill with our leader here. If you end up doing so, you get plus 20 strength off of Centurion, and you also get a free level up off Mark of the Elite. So ideally, we end up getting a couple levels over the course of the fight, just, you know, fighting stuff in general, and then we end up getting one more free one at the end, on top of getting a 20 strength bonus, which then ties into getting War God in the next map, which then gives us an additional 30, meaning that we can completely snap the game in half at that point. Now the reason for trying to set up a Sniper earlier was to get 10 agility, which allows you to be far more consistent with dodges and landing hits, especially in the early game. Not to mention gets you that much closer to actually unlocking Swordmaster early. And then if you unlock Swordmaster, you just end up kind of snowballing that stuff even farther. And that's exactly why. So yeah, in theory, it's very possible to just kind of pick it up early before coming here. It's arguably even optimal to do so, but we'll try to make it work. So yeah, this guy is one of 2 axe and bow builds in the entire series, the other one being Canopus. Alright, so you also occasionally want to just attack people from the sides like this, because it allows your back to be opened up, which then allows 2 others to circle in and take hits. It seems like an odd choice, but the idea is to try to make sure that they don't end up taking your bag, so you're leaving only 2 spots open on the sides for them to pile in. I'm hoping that Bow Guy will decide to take an axe hit instead, but there's really no guarantee of that. And in fact, yeah, he's gone for Ivana instead, or at least this axe guy did. Okay, we're not getting any free counters this round, and this is kind of why the counter method with the bow is theoretically really good, but kind of has its issues. And if they end up taking out Ivana, that actually ends up working in our favor. Yeah, this map is one of very few where if a friendly NPC ends up getting killed, they actually don't permadie. We will be adding her to the team, even though we won't be using her for this particular showcase. But, you know, she's there for important plot reasons, and if you fire her, she apparently just goes missing in the wilderness or something. Alright, so I'm feeling marginally confident taking this tile right here. Worst case scenario, they end up splitting up, and they end up attacking Ivana. Best case scenario, they end up both coming over this way. She ends up getting attacked anyway, and we take 2 free counters. Good, nothing happened from that encounter, although it would have been nice for her to take damage. Unfortunately, it looks like the other guy might, if he doesn't fire his bow, decide to take out loot, which would be a little bit of a problem. We kind of need her to move, please. Yeah, that's a problem. The male soldier will usually drop a sword emblem. Okay, fantastic. In this case, he dropped a Mendleaf. Actually, one thing that this game did that I wish the rest of the series did was telling you what's in the loot bags that were dropped. This particular guy can drop a longsword. These 2 will drop stat items. I believe one is a Cup of Life, the other one is a sword emblem. So she's going to go ahead and teleport out of here. Yeah, you thought she was dead there for a second, didn't you? Yeah, no, she has a kneeling animation and whatever else, but she can't actually die here. Depending on whether you're feeling ballsy or not, you can basically just go for the 2-shot here in this kind of situation. Like, I know that she's consistently been hitting 19s. I've got 22 health. If she rolls a crit, that's that. If she doesn't, well, then we've won. Again, this whole setup just kind of comes down to how much you want to conserve your resources, how much you think you're going to need. Like, all in all, this is really doable without these risks. But it does look pretty cool if you can pull them off, not to mention it saves a little bit of time, so there we go. A lot of this was originally concepted as a means to speedrun the game faster using a solo, but anyway. You'll eventually suffer the consequences, she says, as he pretty much never suffers consequences. Anyway, so Mark of the Elite, so we get a second level up, so this is the ideal setup. You kill her, you get a level, you get Mark of the Elite, you get a second level, then you pick up Centurion, and then you get a 20 strength bonus. Then you get a great bow. And then Ivana's just fine. See? A quick nap is all you need to shake off several axe wounds. Alright. And, you know, some guy that hits harder than a truck. She's weirdly okay with the fact that he basically punched her unconscious. Like, yeah, don't worry, I got this. Kinda appreciate the, just the sheer detail in all of these scenes, seriously. You got shields laying around, you got boots laying around, you got little flags waving around and everything, and I appreciate the fact that they use the same flags that are used on the map in LUCT and everything. It's just so many little details, you know? Actually, specifically, now that I think about it, those are the flags that are used in the LUCT remake, not even original LUCT, so that's something right there. Okay, so let's take a look at this beast right now. 84 strength. We haven't even hit Formido yet. Alright, so there's two ways that you can now pick up War God. So one of them is to go right here. And we'll go ahead and adjust a few things here. So if you decide to give him a weapon, it says his attack goes up, but it really doesn't. Because the fist is actually better than the longsword there. So what we want to do is we want to take this fairy over here, put them over in this kind of a direction. Now, this is mostly just to show you something. So if we look at these different tiles, we'll see that very few of them actually give you a dirt bonus. So ideally we want them both on this dirt. Let's go ahead and set him up over here. We'll then additionally take this sword emblem and eat it. So now this setup can go a couple of ways depending on the stats that you've rolled up to this point. If everything is ideal and everything's worked out great, you should be able to pick up War God by punching this fairy. There really isn't, theoretically, there's ways to get defense downs and stuff like that, but this is the best, or at least the fastest way to do it. Alright, so here we go. As you can see, we're dealing 235 with all of our bonuses stacked together, meaning that now we get access to War God, or Berserk, and War God. So basically, here, let me read over what these emblems do for you. So War God is do 200 damage or more in a single attack, so you raise your strength by 30 and reduce your intelligence by 30. So now we have 116 strength and 2 intelligence, and have, well, almost have access to the Swordmaster. We can be Knight if we wanted a little bit of extra defense, as well as access to some healing. Funnily enough, yeah, we can actually take that healing off of Ivana now. Alright, so now we can start working on our defense a little bit. Our movement goes down slightly, but now we get access to a heal. I mean, as if this guy wasn't enough of an absolute unit already. We can equip a glass pumpkin over here. This just sits on top of your other armor. So now our defense is just hilarious. You'd think the glass pumpkin would be a hat, but no. You can actually equip 4 glass pumpkins at once, and actually 3 glass pumpkins and a fire crest is the best defense that it's possible to have, though, frankly, the fire crest on its own kind of already maxes out your defense, so whatever. But we are just a few agility points away from unlocking Swordmaster. Well, not really a few points. We're a decent ways away from unlocking the Swordmaster. Swordmaster takes agility 111, Dragoon takes agility 94. In theory, the best way to handle this would be to punch out several dragons in the first chapter to get access to Dragoon. Basically, you punch out 5 dragons, you get access to the Dragon Scale emblem, and get access to Dragoon around the point that you first encounter one, because in a solo, you'd basically be required to do that. Okay, just so you know, there's technically 2 other things you can do at this point before... Well, technically 3 other things you can do at this point before going into Formido. So, first order of business, if we go over here, we hire a female soldier, we make them fire element, and we make them Deneb. Apparently, the fire element part is not required in all versions, but either way, she needs to be neutral or chaotic, and basically just allows her to be a witch. We recruit her at level 1 to make her level up her MP better, and yeah. What we do at this point is we have our Deneb. There's 2 requirements to unlock the best store in the game. One of them is to have this one right here. The other is to have her become a witch. In order to do that, we need to get the Vixen's Whisper emblem, which requires her recruiting a dude. Now, this is actually very easy to do early on, and I'm not entirely sure why this isn't routed into the speedrun, but I'll just go ahead and save real quick. Yeah, there's technically a couple things that we can do here. Okay, so here's the deal. We're going to start off at, we're going to start off at Celia, I think. So we're going to go over to the shop. We're just going to go ahead and sell those altars that we started off with for an easy 300. Now you might be saying, wait a minute, what if somebody dies? That sounds like a whole lot of their problem, not a lot of mine. But we're going to go ahead and pick up some different equipment, and we're going to go ahead and look at what spells that we have available. Because, ideally, we're going to want access to Fireball. Anyway, love how this thing doesn't disconnect for ages, and then suddenly disconnects the second that I want to show off this tile. Okay, so, at this point, we're going to want to do something a little bit odd. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to look at everybody's fortune. So, hers says to never give up. She'll regain her momentum. Okay, that sounds like a fairly low message. Right, self-contempt for her. Ignore the small things, forget about your worries. That doesn't sound very good. This guy has stability. You'll see satisfactory results if you don't miss your chance. That, I believe, is middle of the road. Right, confidence. Things will go your way, but don't be hasty. Okay, so it sounds like Steaky Steak is the one that we want to have picking up that item. Alright, so let's see what this tile wants to give us, and then we'll take one last shot with Deneb, which should get her to exactly where she needs to be to go become a cleric. Also, we just picked up Embodiment of Desires. Fantastic. Okay, so I did this the dumb way, but there is a far faster way that you can do this. If you have the crown from earlier, literally all you have to do is just go immediately to the store at this point, buy a level 5 female soldier, name him Deneb, and yeah. I was trying to be tricky. There's really no reason to do that, but at this point, yeah, at level 5, they can become wizard. At which point, all they need is 35 for the next one, so we should be able to get that pretty quick. Alright, and next we're going to want to take one random fight. This is the only random fight we're going to take in this entire thing, just because I want to show off how this works. So, alright, so at this point, the easiest and safest thing is just to find one weak unit that you can basically go up and recruit. Now, the randos will scale to your level, but their equipment will still be garbage. Meaning that, yes, we can still punch out 80s. The thing about the AI in this game, if your leader is available, they kind of view that as a win, so they will actually bum rush your leader. Which is kind of funny when, you know, they could probably just go punch that rock in half over there. Yeah, how terrifying is this? Is this terrifying, or is this somebody's fetish? Like, just some dude comes over, rips everybody you know in half, and then suddenly this lady's just chasing you around like, hey, so why don't you go ahead and join us? Totally gonna be your best friend forever. Oh my god, dude, finally. That took so dang long. Okay, so we got Mark the Elite. Do we get Centurion? Okay, Centurion does trigger with a conversion, shockingly enough. So, this is Glycinia. Basically, she is one of 2 mascot fairies that you can get in the game. Now, is it super optimal to get her this early? No. If you want to make use of them later, then sure. You know, it works well enough, but this is a fight that generally takes a little longer. But as far as Glycinia fights go, you will get her one way or the other. Alright, well that gave me more than a little heart attack. After all this stuff, it looked like the cord had just decided to crap out in the middle of this whole thing. Anyway, looks like we're all good to go now, and I'll just go ahead and one-shot some fairies, as you do. The funny part is, you can actually set up almost the entire team to run around with Centurion and Mark of the Elite this way. If you want to have the most comically easy run of this game ever, just go ahead and run 2-man teams at that starting random map, and yeah, there's never going to be a challenge in your entire run. Because getting a 20 strength bonus this early is, it's just hilarious. See, the funny part is I set up the Dragon Shield like it's this amazing, unstoppable thing. It's not actually mind-blowing, but it's a pretty significant defense bonus for that early on. You just give the glass pumpkin to the other guy, and honestly, you're on easy street at that point. Alright, so you can get them to join you at this point. I mean, she will join you one way or the other. They really want to make sure that you at least have a chance to get the fairies. So Glycinia, you will run into one of her fights eventually. She's got like 4 different spots that she can actually get ambushed. But the main reason you get her is for her equipment. The funny part is, yeah, this is another reason that you may potentially want to pick up, or you may ideally want to start off as a water element, because yeah, you can get Ice Chain really, really early. But we can just go ahead and slap this stuff on our other characters. So I just want to say, if you want to have the most hilariously tanky dude in existence, you can absolutely just double up on the pumpkins at this point, and yeah, 200 physical defense. Funny part is, yeah, your spell defense at this point is functionally non-existent, but that's kind of where this comes in. This gives you, it says 10 spell defense. I'm not entirely sure if it's just bugged or if it's so dang low that, like, it just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it does say it's magical defense there. But yeah, we basically we're tanking anything that comes this guy's way. Alright, so, changed my mind on the whole grinding thing. Theoretically, you can have 2 units just kind of punching it out forever. Like, you literally can just leave it running overnight and have yourselves all the way up to level 50. If you're familiar with the whole 3rd-gen Pokemon thing, where you could just leave your bike running with a paperclip taping down the A button while using a slow bike on a mud slope, it's basically the same thing. You just have 2 of them with no equipment and a heal ability, just running around punching each other forever. Or potentially just using bows. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. Slow animations don't matter very much when you'll just wake up in the morning and they're both level 50. So, if you were just looking for a meme run, you could absolutely just duo run this thing with just Lands and a Neb over here. But yeah, this theme right here, every time I think about cool fights in this game, it's always this theme. I love it. It's like this theme, you know, where it's raining on the fortress, and you're just trying to kind of slog your way up there. I'm thinking the Rana Sea fight every time. It's so good. Did I mention I freaking love this game before? Because I freaking love this game. Alright, so there's 2 potential very good drops, 3 total drops, so we're going to go over here, and we're going to punch this guy for apparently an 80% that can't hit, but he'll gladly hit his 40, so we're off to a great day. We got a magic solve there. Alright, so let's go over the drops here real quick. So, this is going to be one of the standard drops right here, so 1, 2, 3, 1. This is going to be the one that we've already picked up. It's going to be another one that is from Group 1. This tile right here is going to be another potential really good drop. We need to burn this tile and pick it up. And this tile right here is going to be, well, it says it's a Dragon Gem Sword. I've gotten the Hyacinth fan here before. I'm not sure what that's all about. Was just double checking because I wasn't sure, but yeah, I know I've gotten the hyacinth there before, so it's potentially maybe a couple of other things. But either way, you're getting a nice thing from that tile, so there's that. Let's go do what we came here for and wrap this thing up. So all you gotta do, switch her over to a witch. She is Fancy Witch. And so she decides to be a better witch, basically gets a better version of the charm move. And then if you go over to the shop in Skabellum, it's the pumpkin shop, and that's where you get all the good stuff. So you can get candy stuff, you can get the full candy set, or most of the candy stuff if you'd like. You get fur coats, which are going to be some really good stuff. You get candy armor. You get a thing that will essentially allow you to revive on death. So if you're doing a solo run, this is basically a free life for you. A sacrificial doll that just prevents instant death. But anyway, this is definitely by far the better item. And orbs. At this point, this is actually what the speedrun relies on, because these essentially are a portable nuke. So, like, let's just go and show you what one of them does. Just one of them. We can have a whole lot more, but okay. So get into a fight. Yada yada. All right, come on, finish your dialogue before anything happens. So yeah, at this point, with this map, if you get a cup, if you get the Sorcerer's Cup thing, you can end up getting to that shop one fight early. But I feel like with some optimizations, there are ways to just not have to worry about that at all. Anyway, so with all our strength as it is, it does use your stats to attack. I don't remember if it uses strength or not, but this thing basically nukes the entire map for you. And yeah, you can get an infinite amount of them. Remember I was talking about that box earlier? Yeah, Eleanor can give you one of these later as a massive endgame thing. So basically 2 of them. You can use 2 of them to just clear pretty much any map. So yeah. And bear in mind, this isn't even optimized for this right now. So anyway, that's about that. I think you get the general idea of why why you can get overpowered pretty early in this game. A whole bunch of stuff has gone wrong. I've putzed around a whole bunch, and still, before we've even gotten to the mermaids, we're already able to potentially end fights within 2 turns. So that'll be that. I will see you guys next time. Take care, and have yourselves a good one.